The thing that I want to really talk about is this like type of distribution that we see right now. So these are in order of like chapter length. If we look at obviously One Piece is in a different breed, so I separated that. It's like the staple of the magazine at the moment, but we also got these long ongoing manga: Mashle, Black Clover, Doctor Stone, and then Jujutsu Kaisen. Then we have all of these medium series. It's a little weird having all these medium series, especially 3 of them being gag manga. Granted, a lot of these manga are very good, and I hope they go on and they hit the long chapters. Like Mission Yozakura Family will definitely go into 100 chapters. It's only at like 97 or something, 98. Undead Unluck will probably go into 100 chapters, but it'll end soon after that, I think. Mashle will definitely. Ayakashi Triangle probably will. The problem is these 3 gag manga. I feel like cluttering up the magazine right now. Like, these are like my least favorite to read every week, and it's pretty sad. No, this is just by how many chapters as a visual for me and for y'all at the moment. And so you can kind of see like how many of these middle series there are. And the problem is that a lot of these, like MHA like meets the bar, right? But Black Clover's not meeting the bar right now when it comes to Jump. Dr. Stone, I think, had the really, really great arc, and then it's kind of slowing down a lot, and it feels like it's going to end pretty soon. Within, like, this feels like the final arc, or the second to last arc. Witch Watch is a good gag series that I hope will move forward and get into the to the medium, then maybe even into the long. But that's where I am right now with Witch Watch. Yeah, this week's JJK chapter that came out introduced one of the new Colin game characters, and it was a pretty good like setup chapter for this specific character. So I hope it'll begin to like play off more and be a little slower. I think it's trying to go a little too balls to the walls and explain way too much, way too fast. And so it like kind of gets a little confusing. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think the problem with Jump right now is this like distribution. Like there needs to be like 1 or 2 more long running series, and then yeah, Elusive is at 32, 33 chapters now. I think 32 today. Yeah, 32 today. It just barely makes the cut. But yeah. I just wanted this visual to show like my point, the overarching like issue with Jump right now. I think Act Age getting cut is still being felt currently. But hopefully that gets fixed with the Yozakura Family. And it becomes like that staple that everybody likes to read every week. And more people start to pick it up and they're like, oh shit, there's a manga in here that's at 100 chapters and I haven't read it. Because Yozakura Family deserves way more love than it's getting, and I hope it gets that when it gets into the range of the likes of JJK, Dr. Stone, Black Clover, and MHA. With this visual, I'm going to take all these down now. Can I take all these off? I can reset it? Perfect. I'm going to rank them where I think they are currently. Save the magazine. Hopefully Yozakura gets more than 200 chapters. I don't know if it will. But I hope it does, because it's a really good, really, really good series. I hope to God Roboco does not get 200 chapters, because I can't read it for that long. I can't read it for much longer, to be honest. I'm going to start off with this. I'm currently trying to catch up to One Piece. I really enjoy reading One Piece, at least what I've read recently. I just finished Thriller Bark, and I'm getting into the Sabaody Archipelago, that short little mini arc. Yeah, I think it'll hit 150. Hopefully it gets up there. I think Mashle will hit around there too. But One Piece I'm currently reading. It's the only manga I'm not current on. It's just a very daunting 1,000+ chapters right now, and so I'm trying to read like a certain amount of chapters every day just to try and get caught up. But I really like it, and if I could put it somewhere, I would probably put it high A, but I'm not current on it. And so I'm going to preface this with saying when I'm ranking these series, I'm going to rank them based off how enjoyable they are to read weekly and not the overarching like series as a whole. Does that make sense? Of course, like some of these shorter series, it's a lot more rememberable.
Nice.
Thanks, Blackstorm. Appreciate it. Appreciate the follow. A lot of these newer series are a lot more rememberable over like their 30 to 0 chapters. Those I can remember most of what's been happening, right? Like these long-running series like Black Clover, Dr. Stone, is going to be more arc by arc. Hey, Blackstorm. So let's start off with Ayakashi Triangle. Let's be honest with ourselves and others. Ayakashi Triangle's, I think it's a pretty good series for what it is. It's, you know, your typical ecchi manga and Jump, right? After Yuna ended, they needed to add a new one. And so now you have Ayakashi Triangle. I like the premise. It does what it's supposed to do for its audience. I think it's high B for me. I enjoy reading it every week. I think like long term, it doesn't really have the emotional factor that would push it above. Maybe I'll put it low A at the end here, but I'll have to see as we go on. If you don't know the premise of Ayakashi Triangle, you should read it. I actually own the first volume. Me and Vindy bought it together when we went to Kinokuniya. I still can't believe I bought the best manga in Jump and I have the first volume. It's a series. I'll say that. It's something else. Black Clover. This week's Black Clover chapter and the recent week's Black Clover chapters. This arc has just felt all over the fucking place. Some chapters it's super fast. Some chapters it's super fucking slow. They're like hopping from fight to fight. Nobody's dying. Come on, you gotta make someone die. It just feels every week. Like I like reading it, but it's hard to follow every week. I think it's like one of those series that you need to binge read because it's just a lot easier to understand that way. I would probably put it low B, to be honest, or top of C, depending on where other things fall. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at the top of C for now, because if you read it weekly like I do, it's just like, come on, man. It's got to be a little more understandable. I think, because when I binge read Black Clover, I didn't read it on my phone. I read it on my PC, and so it was big, and I could like see everything, and it was showing spreads. I think reading it on with a big monitor is honestly the way to go. And that sounds silly to say, but I think it actually makes a difference in the experience, if that makes any sense. But of course, there are some manga that don't need that. That don't really focus on their spreads a lot, which I think Black Clover is one of those that really does focus on their spreads. Blue Box, man. I love Blue Box. I think Blue Box is like one of those series that is going to really like be a staple in Jump as time goes on. It's still a short series right now, only 20 chapters, but to me, it's like my second favorite to pick up and read every single week. And so I have to put it at the top of A. I'm a sucker for these romance type manga. I'm a sucker for sports. We got basketball. We got badminton. We got two main characters that are like ready to go, true to their ideals. And man, it's something else. And it's really enjoyable to read every week. Blue Box is about these two high schoolers. They're year one in high school. They both play sports. The boy plays badminton. The girl plays basketball. The boy has been crushing on the basketball girl, right? This is all stuff you can see in the first chapter. The boy's been crushing on this basketball girl since he's seen her practicing in the mornings and things like that, and thinks she like really works hard and is like striving for nationals and really likes that type of person, right? Basically, the girl ends up moving into his house because their parents are family friends, and her parents had to move away overseas for work, and she wanted to stay and work hard for nationals for basketball. Then it starts to play more off of the romance, seeing where their relationship goes, and I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff. It also is actually focusing a lot more on the sports than I thought it would. The sports aspect of it is very strong. It's got a kind of grit to it. Like these characters are not going to give up on their sport, and it's like, and you can see how that kind of affects and builds their relationship a little bit. There's also another girl getting involved, and of course he's got his best friend, and he's also got a rival in his sport of badminton. Overall, I think the series is really pushing in a very positive direction, and I really hope it's here to stay for the long haul. I've heard it's selling well in Japan, which is great. It's really short too. I think it's 21 chapters as of this week or something around there. And it's a really easy read. There's not a lot of text. The text that's on there is meaningful. The art's great. It checks all the boxes for me, you know. It's got the premise type I like. So I'd highly suggest reading Blue Box. Dr. Stone. So we all remember, right, like 2 months ago when Dr. Stone was popping off every week. Dr. Stone was like in my S tier every week. It was like, I want to read Dr. Stone. And then it gets into this new arc, and I don't like it as much. It feels like they're just trying to end it to me. It feels like they're kind of rushing through a lot of this stuff. When, like, earlier on in the series, it would take them, like, multiple chapters, like 10, 20 chapters to achieve their goal. This arc isn't hitting as different as the previous arc, and it feels very fast. The art's still amazing. Boichi does not miss. It's really pretty to look at. It also has a lot of text that I feel like it's just people saying things. So, sometimes I feel like the words on the page don't have as much meaning as they should. But I like where it's going. It really did introduce a great new conflict for Chrome. I'm excited to see where that conflict leads, because they are like just flying through these steps to build the rocket ship for this arc. They've like traveled around the world in like 2 seconds. It feels like they just left to get to where they are now. So I don't know. I'm really conflicted about Dr. Stone right now. I think the conflict with Chrome is what is going to keep me reading through this arc. So I'm going to put it at the low end of A, because my nitpicks aren't that nitpicky. Elusive Samurai. It's actually hit that medium manga length, right? It's past the 30 chapter mark. It's by the same person, the same mangaka who wrote Ass Class, I believe. From what I remember is that Ass Class was the manga that like kind of changed the culture around Shonen Jump and allowed mangaka to finish their manga when they want to finish them, unless they're selling like dog and then they get axed. I think Elusive Samurai is here to stay, and I enjoy reading it every week, but I don't think it like pushes the boundaries that much. It's not hitting like the emotional feeling for me yet, you know. I think it has the potential to do that. I think they've set up something really cool with this young king this young heir having to become a king, right? And learning how to do that and learning how to fight for himself. So I think it has potential. I don't think I like reading it more than Ayakashi Triangle, to be honest. In the future, it has the potential to become an A. Jujutsu Kaisen, man. There are some weeks when it's like, sheesh, goddamn. Write me more manga, Akatami. Come on. I think once this Colon game started, the world building has been explained a little too much, a little too fast. Right? There's all these rules that we have to remember that we're not reminded of very often. There's all these new characters getting introduced because it's a completely new arc. Because it involves like all of Japan and all these new sorcerers. It's just a lot to like kind of process, and I feel like we're not being given the time to do that. Granted, the art's still amazing, but it's kind of confusing to read. So I'm going to put it at the low end of B. That's not to say like it can't get better and it can't get more straightforward. I thought this week's chapter was really good. If he continues on this path with like introducing characters more slowly and explaining their background like he did this week with this new character. But I think a lot of the times it gets a little too ahead of itself. So I think weekly I'd put it at the low end of B. Maybe the middle of B, depending on where other series get put. Kokusei Kaizoku, man. I think it's the second best gag series in Jump, and that's not saying much. I still think it's like low end to C. It's not good. Like, the art is suspect at best. Premise is something. The high school family, and sometimes the jokes land, sometimes the jokes don't. It's very hit or miss. But when it does make me laugh, I do give a little scoff. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Just it's a very like, okay, I'm gonna read this every week manga for me, which is like kind of what the C's are. Like Black Clover, I'm gonna keep up with it because it's Black Clover. Kokosei Kaizoku, I'll keep up with it just because I'm current with it, and it's not a very long read either. You can kind of speed through it really quick. One thing is, I think the mom's really cringe. I think the dad's like one of the funnier characters, and I think the dad is like the best, because he's so like he's just funny, like so ignorant. He's like a athletic beast, which I think is a funny joke to have a 46-year-old be an athletic beast. So I think it has like some positive characters, but I think the younger sister and the mom are just like super cringe. Maybe that's because my family's super cringe, but you know, whatever. Magu-chan, man, I'd have to put it below Kokosei Kaizoku in those C's. It's got so many words to say not a lot at all. I think the bonus of it is the gods are really funny, but the actual people characters are not as funny. And I think Magu, the way the mangaka writes the dialogue and the way the text looks, you can just kind of like hear him in your head. And I think that's really funny. And the best part about the manga is that even when he's not trying to make a joke with the way that Magu talks, it's still funny. But that's one of the only positive things I like about it. The rest of it is just like, it's so whatever. I'd say these two are pretty interchangeable. They're kind of a drag to read every week. I think I'd put it behind Kokosei Kaizoku because how many words are there? And reading that many words to have nothing being said is kind of boring. And that's why I think reading High School Family every week is a little more enjoyable, because you can get through it faster and it's trying to tell more jokes faster. Mashle. The thing is with Mashle, I'm very back and forth on it right now. It's good and the art is good, and the gag stuff is really funny. Whenever they try and make a joke, it lands with me. But it's literally copying Harry Potter and a lot of its terminology and the way that the world is built up, and it feels very weird. They're literally about to do a Triwizard tournament and they call it that. Like, come on. It feels so rip-off. However, that may just be because I've read Harry Potter very recently. So I'm sure people who either haven't read Harry Potter or have read it a long time ago won't notice these types of things. But that's not to say it's still not good. It's very well drawn. Whenever it needs that big spread, it delivers. Those spreads sometimes, especially when it was in those mid-50s and Mashle was fighting a lot, those spreads were hitting different. The detail in them, it was insane. So I hope it can restore itself to that former glory. I think it will in this art, but I think right now it sits at the high spot of B. It like fluctuates between that A and B for me. I don't think it's ever the best thing I read every week, but I think it does have some really high positives about it that can shine forward a lot of the time. But recently it's been sitting at that high B for me. MHA, man, talk about the best manga in Jump right now. Even though it's not in the middle of a big fight with a big villain, somehow Horikoshi is just built different and never misses. Hori doesn't miss. Okay? Every week he puts something on the page that makes me want to cry. Every week there's something on there that just pushes the story forward, but not in an overly fast way. That's my problem with JJK. It pushes stuff forward too fast, but MHA, it slows it down. It tells you why things are happening in a very clear way. The art is just completely built different. He because it's in this final arc, and I have this theory about mangaka, okay? Whenever they hit their final arc, they enter like a godlike state. Furudate did this with Haikyuu. Hori's doing it with MHA, and they just draw the best they've ever drawn in their life, and it's beautiful, beautiful. I'm really excited for what comes every week. It's my favorite thing to pick up and read, and it's just like, man, it's so good. It's so good to read weekly, and I think that's a very high point of MHA, is that you can read it weekly and still get the same amount of enjoyment that you would if you binged it. Mission Yozakura Family. I think Mission Yozakura Family kind of sits in the same spot as Mashle. Right now it's at that high A. Mission Yozakura Family is really fun to read every week. I'd say right now it's better than Dr. Stone to read every week. I think the gag stuff hits when it hits. The intense stuff is very good. But Mission Yozakura Family, just a joy to read every week. It's got one of the best heroines in Jump. I need to see more from the Blue Box girl to think she's the best heroine in Jump, but right now it's Mutsumi, without a doubt. Like, she does not get enough credit for how good she is for Tayo and the overall plot. It's not as like romance forward as Blue Box is, but it's got those little romance undertones which are really, really good and make me very happy whenever I read them. When they do these little gag chapters, they hit, and they make you chuckle, because it's always the family like being able to interact with each other and like push each other's buttons a little bit, make these jokes and do silly things that just make you laugh, just make you happy. Mission Yozakura Family is a must read if you're reading Shonen Jump. Neru. So whenever I read the first chapter of Neru, it's only like 7 chapters in or something. I thought it was going to be dog shit and was going to get canned after like 13 chapters. I thought it was so bad. It actually kind of subverted my expectations, if that's not a cringe thing to say. I think it's not bad, and I think it has a little bit of potential, surprisingly. I'm going to put it right behind Black Clover, because I pick it up and I'm like, is it going to be dog shit this week? And then it's not dog shit. So I'm satisfied with what I'm getting, but is it better than Black Clover reading it weekly? I can't really tell. It's only 7 chapters in. Maybe it'll stay around. I think it'll probably hit those mid chapters and then it'll finish. But it does have a good like final goal for this guy to hit, and it's established that pretty well. I think there was a little tidbit that I think they need to expand on more as the series goes on about his grandfather, which I think could be interesting. But for now, it's sitting below Black Clover at a C. It's definitely better than these gag series, I'd say. But Red Hood, man. I think an assistant of Horikoshi's draws this. I enjoy it for the most part. I think it's pretty. It's fun to read weekly. Again, it's one of those shorter series that it's easier to keep up with and understand as it's going on. It's only how far is it in? Where's Red Hood? It's only 11 chapters in, right? Unfortunately, I think it suffers from the art trying to be too much like MHA at times. But, of course, MHA's art is godly, so honestly, I'm going to put it above Black Clover. I'll slander Black Clover right now. But Red Hood, I'm excited to read more. Makes me want to keep coming back. And I think the premise is really, really interesting, with all these like monsters in this guild, and I think it has like a lot of room to grow. So it definitely got more potential than Neru, for sure. Sakamoto Days. I think Sakamoto Days is right now currently more fun to read than Mashle, but I think Sakamoto Days, when it wants to, it's kind of similar to Mission Yozakura Family, and when it wants to be funny, it's really funny, and when it wants to have those intense action sequences, it has those intense action sequences. I think it has a lot of room to grow. We're entering a pretty cool action-heavy arc, so I'm excited to see this. I think Sakamoto's really funny. I think the whole group that they have going is really funny and really cool to watch and see them interact and things like that. So I'm excited to see where it goes when it starts getting into those chapter 70 area or the possibly chapter 100 area. It could end up being a mainstay. And so I hope it does. Undead Unluck. is built different. When a man can draw 6 spreads in a week and make every single one of them look like God's gift to Earth, he's built a little diffy. Okay? I think I'd honestly put it above Mission Yozakura Family. Undead Unluck right now is on another level. It is drawn so well. The story is great. The 2 main characters have a lovely relationship. This week's chapter really pushed that boundary with them. Picking it up every week is a joy. I love the way that the fights are conducted. They are well thought out, and the characters actually have to use their brains, and it's not all just brawn, right? Because a lot of times they don't really understand fully the abilities of the other person. And it makes it very clear that they don't understand them, and that the whole point of a fight is trying to understand your opponent's abilities so that you can counter them in some way. Of course, that's not the case with every single fight, but it's learning how they learn to counter these abilities is super interesting. And now we move on to the best gag series in Shonen Jump, Witch Watch. Pog. I love Witch Watch, by the same person who wrote Sket Dance, I think, right? Really super duper funny. The only reason it's sitting at a B right now, the top of B, is because it just finished like its first like biggest arc, and so it's kind of in that down period. And this week's chapter wasn't like the best or the funniest. It's so hilariously funny. I don't think it's everybody's type of humor though. I just love reading Witch Watch. It's so funny, just super enjoyable. The main characters have a great dynamic. This dynamic with main girl and main boy, her having feelings for him and him just being completely oblivious and stupid to them, is super, super funny. I enjoy picking it up every week. I fucking hate the robot, man. I hate it so much. The robot is dog shit. Unfunny. Sexualizes children. Gachi Gorilla is the only good person in this manga. The only chapters I actually read entirely are because Gachi Gorilla pops off. Roboco is unfunny. It's unoriginal. Steals from other manga to make jokes. We were mad about Time Paradox Ghostwriter being about plagiarism. Okay? And then we put a manga like Roboco in here. Stealing ideas, thoughts, jokes. Using the names of other manga in an unfunny way. How dare you? Literally plagiarizing MHA's Volume 1 cover with Volume 5. Hello? Be original. Come up with something new, a new idea, something fun. Okay? Come on. I'm not here for Roboco. And a new manga came out this week. It's only 1 chapter, only 55 pages. And it's here. The thing that really pulls me in for a first chapter of a manga is if it has really good art. Not even if it has really good art, because I think that's a thing that mangaka can grow on a lot as they continue drawing the characters, right? But I think the art style is something that I look for a lot. The premise, and those are like the 2 main things. The premise in this one is about this piano septuplet. So 7 kids that were all born at the same time. All of them are gods at piano, except for one of them, and that's our main character. And the art is just so weird, but it's probably just because I'm not used to it yet. Don paid me everything, gave me his life. But the title's really funny. PPPPP. PPPPPP. It's like 6 P's. That's all it is. It's PPPPPP. 6 P's. I think it has room to grow. I like the idea of this piano septuplet. I don't know where it's going to go or what it's going to be like. The chapter ended with him getting accepted to a music school when he hasn't played piano in forever, Although one of the judges that accepted him to the school had a really Chadley line that said mediocrity can beat talent with something. It was a pretty Chadley line. I was like, that's pretty cool. But basically, I think it's going to be the story of this guy from mediocrity becoming a godlike pianist. So I think it has potential. I don't know if I love the premise like as much as I like the fighting monsters type thing, like I saw with Red Hood. But I think it sits right here for now. I think as more chapters come out, I'll probably end up liking it more. Maybe the art changes up a little bit, becomes a little less wild and crazy. But I think it has some potential. Just to go through this again, we got MHA, the GOAT, at the top. We got Blue Box, we got Undead Unluck, Mission Yozakura Family, Dr. Stone, Witch Watch, Sakamoto Days, Mashle, Ayakashi Triangle, Elusive Samurai, Jujutsu Kaisen, Red Hood, Black Clover, Neru, Kokosei Kaizoku, High School Family, Magu-chan, we got PPPPPP, and we got God's Abomination to Earth, Roboco at the end. Hopefully I catch up to One Piece within the next 2 months. That's like a goal of mine, maybe the next 3 months. Give me a little time on that. But once I catch up to One Piece, I feel like it'll probably sit in the A somewhere. Hopefully by then Roboco's fucking canned and I don't have to read it every single week. But that's how it goes.